Hi, TK. It's very nice to meet you, and thank you very much for joining me. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day out, and I'm looking forward to talking about the subject. It's kind of my favorite thing to talk about. So,
Great to hear, and thank you again for being here. TK, just to dive before we dive in, can you tell me a bit about yourself, how you found carnivore, how did it all start for you?
yeah, I work a pretty sedentary job, and I think I started going to the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Hey, your cholesterol is way too high. You should think about getting on statins." Like, well, can I change my diet instead? Maybe we can do something like that. I know that you can do stuff like that. He's like, "Yeah, eat nothing. Eat a lot of vegetables, leafy green vegetables, lean meat like chicken and stuff like that, and it should lower your LDL." Well, over a period of a couple uh, years of trying this. I think it was like a year and a half trying it actually. My nothing changed except for my triglycerides went up and my HDL went down. And I was like, that's not what was supposed to happen. And I was really trying. Like maybe I would have something off off diet every once in a while. But I really tried. So I, didn't give up on it, but I just kept on not really being convinced that it was the right thing to do, especially after I was really doing it. And I started hearing these weird things about people eating only meat. And I think the first time I really heard it was uh, on a Rob Signs, I believe his name is. He has a podcast and he talked about it. I was like, oh, that's weird. And then a couple months later, I saw the Joe Rogan with Dr. Peterson, and then the thing about his daughter Michaela Peterson and how they put things in remission by just eating the lion diet. And I was like, that's ridiculous. Uh, I was like, okay, so I then came back to it in a couple of months after that, and I found some stuff on YouTube, and I found all the usual characters that are associated with the carnivore diet, and I was like, maybe we'll try this out. So my wife and I, the beginning of January 1st, it was our New Year's resolution actually of 2024. We started to do this, and I kept a detailed journal for like 90 days, um, cataloging everything that happened to me, bowel movements, what I ate, how I felt, um, anything I could think of when I was doing it. So just I was trying to be as scientific as possible. Um, and we did that for 90 days, and I felt really good after the end of it. My wife had a little bit of trouble with the diarrhea sort of stuff that happens, but she eventually got over that. And overall, she before she got pregnant, because when she got pregnant, she started being a little bit lax with what she was eating, just because she just wanted to get some food in, but she wasn't eating anything crazy. She was eating a little bit of vegetables and stuff like that. But she lost, I believe, 40 pounds, and I lost 20 pounds, and it's just staying off for me. She gained a lot of that back when was pregnant, but she's starting to lose it again after she had the baby. So let's see. So yeah, I've been on it for about 2.5 years now, and it's really awesome. It's my favorite thing, actually. I've had LASIK surgery before, and I thought that was a game changer, and like it changed my life a lot. Just having the freedom of not having, uh, my glasses on, trying to have to mess with those all the time. Having, eating this restrictive, it has made me feel so much better. Gave me so much more energy, and I think that this is something for me for the long term. Unless something happens, I'm always looking for the truth of the matter, whatever it be, and if it, this is what I have found out that works the best for me in this case. And so, anything else I can add to that? Did I about cover it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, that was pretty good. I think it's awesome that you and your wife are actually doing this, and you guys are 2.5 years with the whole carnivore journey. I started also in 2024, May 1st, also because you guys started January 1st, so I did it May 1st. Just past 2 years in a month. Yeah, that's really cool. And you guys have lost weight, better energy. This is all cool. Yeah.
For sure.
I know you mentioned you were listening to like Joe Rogan and I think Jordan Peterson, and I think another person was Rob Science, was his name, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How long do you think? How long would you estimate like you did your research for, like between before you attempted carnivore? Would you say like couple of weeks or maybe some months?
I would say that when I saw the Jordan Peterson thing, I started to do my research. I think that was in, because the first time I like made contact with it was like July 2023, and then so maybe like I think it was like October or something like that, when they had the October or November when they had um, their interviews with Joe Rogan, and when Michaela Peterson talked about her like arthritis and her hip replacement and the ankle replacement and all those stuff. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I was like, how is that possible? So I started deep diving in when I saw that first interview with Jordan Peterson, and then I just kept. And then I found her interview, and then I was like, okay, this is crazy. This can't be true. This is like the antithesis of everything that I've ever been taught. And how is this possible? Like, why does this work? And like, I think I keep on trying to prove it wrong to myself. I keep on, and it just doesn't doesn't let up. It's always held up everything that I look for, because I try to steel man the other side, steel man my side, obviously, and then like, okay, but what if like the vegans are correct? What would I see? And then I'll go and look and say, okay, so you can get. I'll say, okay, you everything that you can get from eating meat, the same you can get the same exact thing from eating plants and stuff like that. I'm like, cool. So maybe you can do both. And I just can't find the the mechanisms, I guess, that would be behind eating plants and not fortifying them with things you would naturally find in meat. There's just a lot of times you see cereals that they're like fortified with the stuff you find in meat. I'm like, okay, but why don't we just eat the meat? And it's such a hard subject, because one, you have a like a scientific, and I'm not talking about like journals and studies. I'm just talking about what is the case, like what is the reality. There's the reality of the situation, and that is in my experience, and what I've found out is that human beings were developed to eat, ruminant animals, and probably if we had mastodons roaming around right now, that'd probably be our best bet, but we don't. And the best we can do is, our bovine cows, ruminants like that. Um, so that seems to be the best case scenario for human beings to thrive, not survive, but to do the best they can. And can we survive off of, plants? Yeah, totally. Can we survive off of like some mushrooms and fruit and, different types of animals? Yeah, totally. But I think that the evidence is pretty clear when it comes to, you know, like fossil records. Like, hey, here is a Cro-Magnon skull from 30,000 plus years ago, and it has perfect teeth. There's no cavities. Like, well, how does that happen? Like, no one has perfect teeth nowadays. They didn't have dentists 30,000 years ago, did they? Maybe they did. Who knows? And that's all those things that you find in the fossil record for human beings, like, indicate that whatever we were doing was better for us in the case of, like, health wise, like our teeth, our bones, our height, our brain size, like all those things seem to be better before the uh, pre-agricultural revolution than afterwards. And what was the big change? Well, we figured out how to farm. So, and that just kind of drives me nuts a little bit, because no one really knows anything about this. And when you talk about this with people, it's hard to kind of breach the subject, because they everyone has been told for their entire life, at least in the United States, at least where I grew up, they were like, oh, eat the rainbow, do these things. And in fact, I used to when I would eat strawberries, they had little leaves on them. And I would be like, oh, I'll eat the leaves on the strawberries. Obviously, they're green. They're good for you. And I was not thinking critically about this, and until, seeing that sort of thing about, um, eliminating stuff from your diet, and then people resolve a lot of their sicknesses and their diseases. Wild.
Yeah, I feel like I relate a lot to what you just covered there. I think especially me trying to wrap my head around the whole, so everything I knew was wrong, everything was backwards. Like you talk about the eating the rainbow food, and also, you know, I think we were better off like before the agricultural revolution. So yeah, yeah, everything was just like made me dumbfounded, like about realizing everything. If this is the only thing that that is wrong, what else could be like that is backwards? It can't just be this lifestyle. It could be something else, right?
Yeah, there is. I bet you there is just a laundry list of things that we are doing that is bad for us. I know that being in an office all day, sitting down, looking at a computer desk, typing is not good for you at all. Um, so when I'm in the office, I like to get up, walk around, go outside. We have a little deck area where we can go outside, and when it's a nice day like today, I'll just go out there and sit there for until I want to go back in. But I don't think that human beings were meant to be in a little cubicle and doing that sort of work. That's one of the things. And people have all sorts of back problems and hip problems, and they're just like sitting down all day doing this, especially having their phone, looking down at their phone all day. That's not good for you. I see so many people just kind of just their entire bodily structure is just kind of tilted forward. And I want to just like talk to people about, hey, did you? But a lot of people just get so offended when you want, and not necessarily on purpose. It's not like you're making fun of them or you're calling them names or anything. But when you start talking to someone about something that kind of challenges their identity in a little way, and a little bit, then they will get defensive. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to be defensive. Have you ever thought about this? And a lot of people don't want to think about stuff. They just want to, you know, consume product and get excited for next product. Sometimes it's hard to just kind of explore topics with people. And this is one of the topics where it's like so hard, because everyone has their mind made up already about everything. And I'm like, if I had my mind made up about everything already, then I wouldn't be doing this, right? Like, it, so I try to, and I'm not trying to tout the, you know, my open-mindedness, but I wish some people would just try some stuff every once in a while. Like, okay, maybe, what about this? Let's try this. Because I tried to do the mostly vegetables, lean meat thing, and I got appendicitis. So I don't know if that's directly related to that. It just happened to be during that time period. Um, and before that, I was always eating the rainbow, making sure I wasn't eating too much crap. Everyone was eating a basic American diet, and they were kind of just going through having French fries every once in a while, eating some hamburgers, going out to eat when they can. Then when they're home, they usually eat some good food and have the steamed broccoli and the vegetables on the side, the mixed peas and carrots and some rice. And I was that guy for you know 30, 39, 40 years, and until I found this. And then so it's so crazy the change in my body that has happened um since I started it. And basically it went from kind of Pillsbury Doughboy to like maybe I could replace Brad Pitt in Fight Club, maybe, possibly. I'm just kidding, but I'm back down to the weight I was when I was in my early 20s. And I have zero belly fat, which is crazy. And I had to take in a lot of my pants just because they don't fit. I had like inches gone. My belt has this much space. I'm like, where was this? I haven't tried to fit in. I have some of my pants from when I was in that age. I might want to try to put them on, see if they fit. But it's just kind of like uh, it blows my mind how something this simple could be overlooked and just not wanting to be tried by a lot of people. They just, and I'm not trying to disparage them at all. Everyone has their own way that they can come to something, but it's kind of like you have a really cool thing you want to share with people, regardless of what it is. Like, oh man, I got this new thing, and then just everyone's like, oh, that's interesting, and you're like, but look, I have my own F-18. You want to come ride in it? And they're like, nah, not, I don't even, that's not very cool. Or what? You're like, yeah, it's hard to communicate that to people a lot of the times, and I wish that I had the orator skills that I could go and be like, hey, did you know about this? And people could, because once I know a good thing, I kind of want to share it around. I don't want to keep it to myself. And I don't try to be too pushy, but when someone asks about it, I have to go into at least some bit of a little spiel about it. But yeah, I just wish I could talk to people more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I truly relate to that. I feel like it's very hard to you know, get other people to be on the same page, when talking about this. Because I feel like you said, they take offense and you don't mean to offend them, but it is hard. I feel like sometimes I want to say, I think we were all addicted to sugar at one point, but then it'll come across to them like, no, I'm not addicted to sugar. But yeah, there's a lot of moments like that with other people. TK. So yeah, it took me a while to like wrap my head around it. So it took me like months to research because I was concerned about one thing. I think one of the research I was doing was about the oxalate dumping. I think I was really concerned about that, thinking I might die in the process, before I can get the benefit out of carnivore. Did you had any specific concern before, while doing your research, maybe something similar? Uh, yeah, did you have any concern?
Yeah, well, when I first started doing it, I didn't really actually research how to do it. But I was really concerned when people talked about like your cholesterol could go up and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, my cholesterol. And so and I was a little afraid to like deal with that. Also because everyone knows you eat red meat, you get your cholesterol goes up, right? Everyone knows that. So I'm like, oh man, I don't want my cholesterol going up because that means I'll have a risk for cardiovascular disease. And I'm like, oh, I don't. That's something I don't want to mess with. But when I learned about more of the mechanisms of cholesterol, which it's not your cholesterol, it's your cholesterol transporters that are actually doing more of their job instead of uh, like cholesterol going up. It's so when I learned more about like lipoprotein transporters instead of like specific like oh the bad cholesterol, like that's so unscientific. Why do people talk like that? It doesn't help with anything. When I started looking into the mechanisms behind it and finding out what like atherosclerotic plaque was actually made out of and like how it actually forms, where it forms, and only forms in certain places and only forms in your arteries for the most part, unless there's like specific, venous issues that you have, which few and far between, has nothing to do with this. But uh, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Why is that the case? And I found out that there's a lot of people who are on the vegan lifestyle who have heart problems, atherosclerotic cardiovascular problems. For some reason, I can't ever say atherosclerosis, and now I can. Um, but and I'm like, well, why do they have heart problems if they're eating the correct thing? That doesn't make any sense to me. And they would be on it for 20 years vegan, and then they'll have a heart attack. That's in their early 50s. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And I was like, make it make sense for me. So I just kind of looked back and forth and just researched cholesterol a little bit more. And you find that like statins don't really even help your lifespan either. And I'm like, well, why? People who get on statins usually have some sort of dementia after that. I'm like, okay, this is just so odd. And then, I was already kind of uh, skeptical about the pharmaceutical industry after like COVID happened. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but is it okay to say COVID nowadays? Um, when that sort of stuff happened, I started having a lot more skepticism for like public institutions, especially when someone, I'm not going to name them, was saying that they were claiming that they were the science. I was like, that's not how science works, and everyone knows that. I was like, science is questioning, science is testing, and if you uh, that's how science works. I'm like, yeah, there's body of knowledge developed by the scientific method, but that's always being tested, and that's the fact. That's the best type of science is when you keep testing something and you get the same answer. You just keep getting it. But yeah, when I first like started looking into pharmaceutical industries and like how they and they're for profit industry, I'm like, well, that's everything's for profit. And I'm like, well, maybe it's not as maybe it started out, with some sort of valiant effort to help people, but I don't think that's how it is now. And if it was, we would do a lot more research into uh, just without like I don't know how this would exactly work, but we would need some sort of public fund grant where we could actually do research that's not directly funded by the people who want the things funded. You know what I mean? Like, hey, can you test this statin so we can get it FDA approved so I can make a lot of money on it? And we just kind of want to take that magic pill, and that is also a testament to things like GLP-1 agonists. It's a magic pill, right? Like it works. It really works. I've known many people who got on that and lost weight really quickly. And maybe we don't know exactly the repercussions of that, but that we'll find out in 10 years. And or maybe it's actually a magic pill. But I think that pharmaceutical companies are there to make money, And when you see statins pushed, and other types of cholesterol medicine pushed, it's like the first thing to happen. That's what my doctor did. I was like, hey, he was like, my cholesterol is high. You should go on a statin. I was like, I don't want to go on medicine. Is there anything else I can do? He's like, oh, you can change your diet. I was like, why don't you tell me that first? I didn't say that to him, but that's something that you would try to like do first. But also my wife worked in the medical industry, and the the pharmaceutical producers would actually just come to the doctor's offices and like bring bagels and donuts and like have little meetings and say, hey, this is the new medicine, you should get your people to do this medicine, and it's like, wait, why am I coming to you? Why are you coming to me with the medicine before I have the problem to need the medicine? It's like, shouldn't I have to like reach out to you to like buy it? And it kind of feels sleazy to me in that way. Yeah, they're pushing like all this cancer medicine. Like, well, I don't know. Maybe there's something else we can do. Um, but who knows at this point?
Yeah, I feel like I completely agree with the whole sentiment. I think uh, during the COVID, I think my whole perception of the world. This is even before carnivore. I think just my surroundings, like because they keep pushing the science. Like you said, science is about questioning it. Like keep evolving and just like what happened back then wasn't science at all because they're just pushing for like a specific thing to do for like everyone to do it. Yeah. TK, so looking back at your carnivore journey now, so you're 2 year and a half. Were there any mistakes you made, and how did you learn from them?
Yeah, I've made a couple mistakes, and I've come up with some systems to mitigate a lot of mistakes, and just to keep me like honest and on track. Because to be honest, it's really easy to go out and about around town, and people are eating food that people are eating out, and we're socializing, and there's not anything for me to eat, so I want to participate, but it's like, oh. But so, for example, I went to a work trip early. What was it? Was it last year? Man, ever since having a baby, I'm like trying to remember exactly the times that I was doing things. I believe it was last October, 2024. I think it was October 2024. So the first year I was doing this, and we went out to Hawaii. And when we were there, there was no, it was August. Sorry, but when we were there, we were down in Waikiki area, and basically we managed to win a raffle to our um, to go out there. It was for my work, and it was really nice. It was a great time. I love Hawaii actually, and we were out there, and there's not a crazy amount of carnivore options like right down there in Waikiki. So we having spam masubis, and we were there for about a week and a half. So we're just kind of eating off diet for about a week. Um, and when we could, we would eat, just beef and maybe some eggs. They have a lot of egg stuff, so we're eating a lot of eggs too. But the last night we were there, we had a work function, and we were kind of wrapping up everything, and I went out there and they had like cake and stuff. I was like, oh, I'll have a piece of cake. And I ended up eating probably like 8 or 9 pieces of cake. It was so much cake. But they were kind of little smaller pieces. So I was like, I'll just eat one. And I was kind of getting bored. So I was like, I'll just eat some more cake. And then maybe I had like a glass of wine or something like that. It was like champagne type wine. And I, was feeling just kind of really hyper. And I got back to the hotel room, and me and my wife got into a really big fight, and I don't even know what happened. but we were just screaming at each other. And I'm like, and towards the end of it, we were like, what happened? We end up going to bed, waking up in the morning, getting ready to go to the plane. We were like, what happened? And I was like, I think it was all the sugar that I ate, and like I just lost my mind. It just I'm not trying to blame it. It's my action and the thing, and I did it alone, but I just lost it, and I'm like, holy crap! I and I could kind of like feel this aura or sense about how I used to feel before I was, like while I was doing carnivore and then before that. And I can kind of like see a direct contrast between the two things. Like, wow, I'm a different person when I eat sugar. And especially if I eat this much sugar, I'm never doing that again. And, it was stressful plus a bunch of sugar, just not good. So the next year we really dialed that back. We didn't do any like, okay, let's just, every once in a while we 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 would have like maybe like some little small thing. We would always share something, a little tiny little thing. And then maybe, okay, cool. But starting this year, we wanted to be more accountable. So on the 1st of January, that seems to be a trend. We started cheat tokens, which allows us to have a cheat meal or a cheat drink or something like that. And we have 12 of them a year. So that is, I don't know what 12 days out of 365 days is, but that's not a lot of percent of the year of being off the diet. And so you can use these cheat tokens and spend them on whatever you want, but when they're up, you're done for the year. So I was like, we'll do this so that every once in a while we can have something off diet and just imbibe in something, and that includes, because I don't drink anymore. I don't eat any sugar anymore. I only drink coffee once a week, and that's on Friday, and it's always decaf. That's my little treat for the week. And it's always black. Um, so it can include alcohol. It can include all that stuff. All the good stuff, right? And it's just there to keep us honest and keep us accountable to ourselves. Obviously, I could just do whatever I want, right? But I have to have a little bit of discipline, and this helps me compartmentalize everything and make sure, okay, I have this, I did this, I'm keeping on track. And ever since we started this, like I could tell that I have been actually cheating a lot more than I thought I was. It's like, oh yeah, no, I haven't been doing the things that I was supposed to do. Especially because my body composition totally just changed over the past 6 months. Just because the first year was, there was a lot of weight lost, and then I had like this little pooch, belly, and then the next year that kind of went away a little bit more, and then this last 6 months, everything just kind of like sucked in, like it. I just kind of feel a lot more shredded, and look a lot more shredded, and I feel way better. And it's a learning process, and I think everyone has to come up with something that works for them. And if it doesn't work for you, you need to come up with some other sort of some other sort of way to do it, if that is your goal, to do the thing, whatever it is. But
Yeah, I feel like you had a very big transformation because you were mentioning like being from very big to like Brad Pitt, and lean. I think it's quite a transformation. Um,
that's 180
you also
to
mentioned a lot
160.
about what is it, 180 to what?
To 160. I'm 160 right now, which is
Oh wow, yeah.
my 20-year-old weight, like my early 20s. when I was
Yeah,
super
that's amazing.
active. Yeah, I feel so much better.
Yeah. I know you also mentioned about, the sugar cravings, like bringing you back to the old state. What was your favorite food back then? Was it something sugar or carb related or something heavy? Yeah.
Man, that is, I love beer. That's for sure. That's one of the things. So my favorite foods, man, I loved like a Papa John's pizza. Uh, I when I would, for example, like also I love Domino's pizza too. But when I was a kid, there was a thing called the Big New Yorker pizza from Pizza Hut. I don't know if they still make it, but they probably still do. But I've eaten like one or whole like a whole one of those by myself. They're like these giant pizzas, and that's the thing that I was known for. I have a picture of we used to do these art drawing swap things at work at my old work, where we would draw pictures of each other with different themes, and it was a lot of fun. And one theme was like food, and whoever got me drew me with like a conveyor belt going into my mouth and like all these different foods like going into my mouth. And that's what I was known for, was like the garbage disposal, like the guy who just, and I was rather thin, but I was like just in my body composition was way different. But then when I started getting over 35, things started changing. I started getting a little more chubby. Just basically in this area, we have a specific name for our belly and our family, and like I was getting that for sure. But yeah, I was the garbage disposal at last work, and I would just eat and eat and eat and eat, and I could just eat forever. Really, I would like Papa John's is my favorite. I would love getting burritos, like the big. I don't know if you're familiar with like Roberto's burritos or whatever. Like I think that's either a Southern California thing, but giant, the giant burrito, like giant burritos, and I would just eat the crap out of those. People would be like, "Oh, I can't finish mine." I would eat it for them. And I would just always be hungry too. I would snack all the time, and I uh, didn't really mind it. Right, I loved to eat. It was a lot of fun. It tastes good. That's a lot of like that's a pleasurable thing to eat like delicious food, and it's also feels good to be like full and like it. That's a great feeling. That's something I kind of miss from being back in my old ways. But nothing like tastes as good as I feel now. It like for sure. And in fact, the other day, I think it was last Saturday, we had a get together with some friends, and in doing so, we used a cheat token and we got some pizza. I was like, oh, I can't wait to eat this pizza. It was all right, but you know, I didn't feel bad or anything. It was totally fine. I was just not impressed anymore. I think it kind of the spell is a little broken on it, and I don't think I'm ever gonna go back to just eating. In fact, I have so many cheat tokens left over right now. Like I could just use maybe two a month for the rest of the year almost.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, I feel the same. I think especially in the beginning for me, I think I was using a lot of those tokens. Yeah. Um, TK, so is there anything hard about being carnivore for you? Examples for me as like going to social gatherings with family and friends who are non-carnivore. Also, the traveling, scouting locations, if there's anything, what if I go starve, And also in the beginning, it took me like over a year to get rid of my cravings, get it out of my system. What about for you? Is there anything difficult or maybe before? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll jump into the cravings first because that I think everyone can kind of relate with the cravings sort of situation. So I mean, I don't think they ever go away. In the way that like, oh man, I could really eat this right now. But the longer it goes, the easier it is, I would say. Like the other day, I was just sitting there after getting home from work, like doing some stuff, and I was like, I could really eat some Fritos right now. And I'm like, I just felt like I needed to eat some Fritos, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that, but that's an interesting feeling. It's like, where did that come from? And every once in a while, I'll get like, oh man, I could really go for a double cheeseburger from McDonald's or something like that. Like, and I'm like, oh, I want to eat only the mustard from McDonald's. Like, it's weird stuff like that. I feel like I'm a pregnant woman sometimes, but it's nothing more than like a passing thought. And I know for some people, it's like not. It's like not an option, right? Like, oh, I need to have that right now. I need some pickles or whatever the heck it was. But I think the biggest difficulty that I have with carnivore is actually just the communication thing. I think we went over it a little bit, but I talked to someone today about carnivore. I walked up to him, and I've always been meaning to ask about him working out. And I said, "Hey, man, are you? It looks like you've been working out lately." He's like, "Oh no, I've been off the wagon for a while." I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm planning on getting back on." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, you look pretty big." He's like, "Well, I'm trying to do the opposite." And I'm like, "It's like, oh, is that all right? You trying to lose some weight?" So anytime something like that comes up, I have to like bring up the the meat diet. I have to. Like, why wouldn't I? If if you were doing something like that, you wanted to lose weight, and I was a vegan, or if I, was on, the Atkins diet, or if I was on the paleo diet, I would say something one way or the other. So I was like, I always try to say something about it. I don't try to push it on them. I was just saying, yeah, this is, and they always have one of two responses usually is, it's like, oh, that doesn't sound very healthy, or my cholesterol's high. One of those two things, or no, I could never do that. I could never do that. And I always say, not with that attitude, but I could never do that. Like, well, yeah, of course you could, but uh, my I have some family that, and I try not to go in there and judge people and do all that fun stuff, but I can only hide my facial expressions um, so much when I open up like the cupboard to like look and see what we got to eat or whatever. Usually it's the refrigerator, and there's like an Uncrustable in there, one of those little Smuckers Uncrustables. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this is not food, guys. This is a product that someone sold you that you think is food, and they have tricked you to buy this. Like, are we not? Okay, first they have these Uncrustables, but you know what Uncrustable is, right? Those little peanut butter and jelly little pockets. They it's interesting, the products that they come out with for food, but you have, like, how lazy of a people are we that we can't just be bothered to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We have to buy one in a prepackaged wrap that's already has the crust cut off, and it's like, what is going on? Like, obviously, we have figured out how to turn grapes and other preserves and things into jam and jelly and things like that. And then we figured out how to make peanut butter. So it's like 15 steps removed from the original where it came from. And it make and bake the bread that we need to do. And then they make it into this highly uh, in like industrialized process where they're just churning out these Uncrustables at like you know thousands a minute. I was like, this is ridiculous. And I get it. People are strapped for time, and they need to do a lot of stuff, and they're busy, and they need to feed their kids and stuff. But Uncrustables, come on. Um, so every once in a while, we'll have a conversation about something like that, and it'll always come down to, well, I'll do whatever I want to do, and I'm like, yeah, I know you will, but imagine a world where no one like pushed the envelope with anyone else, right? You know, "Oh, it's my choice what I eat." I was like, yeah, I understand that's your choice what you eat, but also like, imagine no one challenged anyone on anything they did. They would just, everyone would just be kind of lost and not have any direction of what was actually good. And I don't know, but I think that that might be part of the problem with today's society is people don't call each other out for stupid stuff they're doing. Like, for example, I know someone who is trying to quit sugar, and I'm like, yeah, cool. And I'm trying to be as supportive as possible, but also like I'm a little overbearing sometimes, and I can understand that. But I'm trying to be as supportive as possible and say, hey, if you need help, I can help make a meal plan with you and blah blah blah. Not that I'm the end all be all for meal plans or whatever, but she is doing a pretty good job. She keeps on like going back and forth, and I understand that. Like it's hard. Like you said earlier, like sugar is addicting. More addicting to than cocaine. Some people might say. I don't know how addicting cocaine is, but I imagine pretty addicting. Um, but I asked about her partner. I was like, "Hey, does your husband support you in this?" And he's like, "Oh, he's okay either which way." And I'm like, "Yeah, but why though? Why would you not like encourage your significant other to be more healthy?" And everyone knows sugar is bad for you. No one's going to say sugar is good for you, except for maybe like 3 people on the snake diet or whatever that is. Um, I don't know if you've seen that, but that's kind of wild. And who knows? It could be the most optimal diet, but it doesn't seem that way. But how could you not try to push your partner to be the best version of themselves? I try to push myself to be the best version of myself, and um, that's been hard because I didn't figure that out until really late in life that I needed to try to be better. I thought just me by myself is the way I could be, and if you don't like me, you know, that's fine. And you know, my skills are just fine. Then I started thinking, you know, I need to do better. And when I started understanding that like that was like integrally linked with truth, like doing better is a is stuck in reality, where if you know what decision you need to make, and the decisions you make, if they match with reality, then you can actually have a uh, you know, an effect on what you're doing, and a predictable effect. So it's like, oh, I'm doing this thing in towards this goal, and if you don't have that in your mind, you're just going to be doing nothing for your entire life, because um, you won't won't have a goal, and the choices you make won't necessarily reflect reality, so they won't have any predictable effect. So uh, yeah, so I think that people just need to try to push the envelope with, you know, their friends and their family a little bit. Like, hey, I saw that you wanted to do this, and try to encourage them that way. Not necessarily, you know, be overbearing with that sort of stuff, but like to, you know, encourage them in a gentle way that can get them to help better themselves. And it's even harder because a lot of these people who need to better themselves are adults, and they don't have that, like I was, they don't have that preset into them from a young age to like try to do better. They just have, okay, you're good the way you are right now, and just, you know, get by and you'll be fine. And I think that's the reason that maybe people aren't looking for what is true out there, or they're not trying to find, you know, ask the questions to find out what is true. They just, and I guess I'm being a little presumptive here with, you know, some of these statements, but that's what I kind of see, is that everyone just kind of likes to sit into a mold and then, you know, sit there. And I'm like, well, push the envelope a little bit. Let's see what else we can do. What other cool things can we do? Like, oh, that's cool. Cool. What else can we do? And I think that's the truth of the matter, is like we need to be able to encourage ourselves to be better.
Yeah, you know what, I do agree with that. I think it's a good thing to encourage, especially people you're close to, especially family and friends. I think from time to time I do feel like, you have to call them out, not like in a, like you mentioned, not in a overbearing way, but just like, as part of the encouragement. TK, so if you had to describe the impact of carnivore in your life, what one word would you describe it? Tell me why.
Hmm. A one word answer. Man, let me write this down here. One word for carnivore. I would say it was very unexpected. I would say unexpected. Um, everything about it, it has been, it blew every expectation away that I had for it. I thought, okay, I would feel better, and it does not match up to what I was expecting. Everything is beyond expectations, uh, which is great. I mean, I'm so happy that it worked out. A lot of people have also been on this journey, and they can sing its praises too. And there's thousands and thousands of interviews of just like this one online about people going through their journey, and telling their story and how they overcame all sorts of diseases, not even overcoming diseases, just losing weight or just even feeling better. um, but man, it's so unexpected to stumble on the carnivore, and it just opened up a world of you know you know just a complete unexpected world for me. And I'm really thankful for that, and I'm thankful that my wife was able to uh, get on board with me as well. And we're gonna keep going as long as it rings true for us. And so far, so good.
Yeah, I actually like that word. I think somebody else mentioned, person I talked to who said epic. I thought that was good, but I think yours, I kind of resonate because it just came out of nowhere. I think I started off like pretty much just gonna watch this heart attack influencers, and then it just came out like, I was completely wrong about everything, and it turned out that I was actually gonna adapt to this lifestyle. So it was really unexpected, the whole thing. Yeah.
It was basically the
Um.
same as if like a big flying saucer flew over. I'm like, what is that? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. That would have probably a similar reaction.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Um. TK, so have you ever done something like unconventional within the carnivore framework? I'm not sure if you've heard of other carnivores, like some of them don't brush their teeth, or maybe they brush like once a week, like me. Some people don't brush at all. Some people don't take showers. Some people take shower like once a week, or some people eat raw primal. Have you done something like that before, or something different?
That's interesting. Actually, I have a dentist appointment on Friday, and I was having some very last time I went. I think it was 6 months ago, maybe last December, and I was having a little bit of gingivitis that, and I don't. I was like, but your gums are bleeding. Your gums are bleeding, and I'm like, I, every time I would like go and like floss, like they weren't bleeding, but they said, okay, your gums are bleeding. So I switched toothbrushes to an electric toothbrush, and like for to restart that. ever since starting carnivore, my teeth have never been felt cleaner in my entire life. Like they just feel clean all the time. Like I went to the dentist every day. And sometimes when if I didn't brush my teeth, like it would still feel fine. But ever since switching to this new toothbrush, it just feels like I didn't think it could feel cleaner. But it's like one of those Sonicare like toothbrush, and I only brush my teeth once a day usually. And if I have coffee or something, I'll do a little quick brush with just a manual toothbrush with just some baking soda after that, because coffee can really stain your teeth and stuff like that. But I like to eat raw meat though. I don't do it all the time. And when I go out to a steak restaurant, reputable steak restaurant with some good steak, I'll get mine, blue rare, and I like steak tartare. I like I like raw meat. I just like the feeling and the texture of it. Some people get freaked out by it, but it's kind of just like sushi for beef. Um, and I love sushi too. I haven't had that in a while. Maybe I'll have to go do that. But no, I don't really put deodorant on too much. Every once in a while, when I think about it, I'll put some on. But I usually don't have any body odor lately. Like since really doing this diet, if I really get in work up a sweat, I could get something going on, but it's not anywhere close to what it was before, which is so nice, to just not smell bad and not have to worry about it. I have been definitely keeping up on my water intake though, and I don't know if that is helping with my mood and my energy. I'm sure it is, but I've been doing my own electrolyte supplements. Basically, it's the same thing that's in the LMNT um, um, box, but I don't have to pay 40% over the markup. I just buy the powders, mix them together in the way that I need them. Because my family, just real quick, my family has had a lot of cramps. Like they've always had like cramps. My grandma had cramps, my mom had cramps, and I started having cramps. And when I started taking more magnesium, the cramps went away. And I told my mom about it, and she started taking magnesium, and her cramps went away. And I was like, well, I think we figured out what the problem was. Maybe, maybe not, but it seems that the more magnesium I take, the more, and I think it's magnesium glycinate actually. But my cramps tend to go away, and I don't get them. But man, has there been anything crazy that I did in the carnivore space? I think besides eating raw meat once in a while, I think I decided to do like the sardine thing. Like
Mhm.
once I was like, that's cool, and I'll eat some sardines every once in a while. But mainly my diet is 5 burger patties or steak in that same amount, 12 eggs, and 6 tablespoons of butter or tallow, beef tallow, whichever one I have. And I usually eat that one. I think maybe OMAD would be one of those kind of crazy things, right? So I only eat one meal a day, and I eat it at around 3 to 4 o'clock, whenever in the afternoon, whenever I'm just like, I feel like I should eat some food. It's not that I'm hungry; it's just like I know I should eat. I don't. I think you might be able to understand that feeling, but I don't get hungry. I just feel like I should eat, and that it might seem like there's no difference between the two things, but there totally is. Um, which kind of brings me to the like getting hangry. That doesn't happen anymore either. That was the worst. My wife and I would be out, and we would know we need to eat because we would start like bickering with each other. And I'm like, oh no, we're hungry. We got to get some food. But yeah, I think OMAD is probably my fun thing to do. And it kind of freaks people out. And they're like, "What'd you eat for breakfast?" I'm like, "Nothing." "What about for lunch?" I'm like, I only eat one meal a day. And they were like, "Oh, that sounds terrible, Danny. You need to eat more." I'm like, it's like 3,500 calories, man. And they're like, "Oh, well, that's not bad." I'm like, yeah, I probably eat more than you do in 2 days. So like that in one day, and it's great. I used to have a hard time doing it because it would just be like, I guess I wasn't used to it, but now I can just uh, go to town on it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, yeah, I think I find myself eating more raw from time to time, especially with the steak. I think I started when I was younger eating a lot of really cooked beef to now to medium rare. So, but it has gotten better, I think so.
Yeah, I used to get all my stuff
um,
and
so
then
what does a
I changed.
typical day of eating look like for you now? Do you
So eat is a basically the OMAD. I'll get up in the morning, like at 4:30 in the morning. I'll head off to work. I'll get home around 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I'll continue some work from home, and Sam, my wife, she'll make some some food for me, and she'll grill up some hamburgers for me, just the patties, right? Just like quarter pound patties, five of those, and maybe with a little salt on them for seasoning, and then scramble some 12 eggs together. I used to eat them, just raw eggs, just put them in a big cup and just drink them all. But then I learned that there's a couple anti-nutrients you kind of need to denature in the egg whites. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just cook it all. Like that'll be fine. Just have a little runny, and I'll be fine. And I'll just put it on a big plate, and I'll sit down and eat it in like 15 minutes. It's, I just think that that's the way that people were meant to eat food, is just fast. It makes sense when you think about like a survival sort of, we're living in a place where the safety is not, the security is not something that's just guaranteed all the time. So you just need to eat, and maybe you need to go. And, and looking at like stuff like human beings pH balance on like fasting for their fasting pH balance for their stomach is like 1 to 1.5. That's like the same, if not similar to other scavenging animals. So I was like, oh, maybe we were scavengers back in the day, and we're definitely carnivores, because our pH balance is way different than things like our other primates too, like even like chimpanzees or gorillas or whatever you would say that would be our closest relative. Um, but yeah, you're like, oh wow, that they're a good 3, 4 points above us. And when you think about pH balance, it's not like 1, 2, 3. It's more like 100, 100,000. It's like logarithmic scale, and not, so it's like everything is like so much more potent the higher and the lower on the pH balance you go. And I was like, holy crap, we are doing with the carnivore diet. We're like, this is definitely what we need to be doing. Just in that, when you look at the carnivore stomachs, just in general, they have like these lower pH balances. And you're like, well, maybe we need to be eating more raw meat just based on our pH balance. I haven't really done any research into like if we should be eating raw meat or not, but it definitely plays well with my stomach. I just ate yesterday. My wife just took a steak out, and it was like this thick. It was so thick. She threw it on, just seared both sides, and gave it to me. And it was purple. I was like, well, that is so dark. I was like, well, I'm just gonna eat it anyway. No problem. It was really delicious too.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Um, TK, so you've been on this lifestyle for about 2.5 years.
That's
Knowing what you know now about the nutrition, right, the lifestyle, if you can give an advice to someone who maybe have a similar issue you had, maybe the high cholesterol, right? And
Yeah.
you see that they have like a really puffy face, like maybe something heavy. But they're super skeptical about carnivore. They think they're gonna get a heart attack. What would you
Right.
tell them?
Oh, man, I would say so. Like, depends on exactly what it is. But if they have like the issue with like let me plug this in real quick. I'm about to lose my. If they had the issue with the cholesterol, I would ask them to really look into the science behind cholesterol and what that actually means. There we go. Let's do that. And what that actually means, and not listen to exactly what your doctor is saying, because they are taught to kind of repeat this bad cholesterol thing, and it doesn't really pass the sniff test if you start really looking into what cholesterol is and what they mean when they say bad cholesterol. I think that uh, if you if you have a problem that seems to be related to your diet in some way, um, like you have diverticulitis or you have Crohn's disease, or that's obvious, right? It's somewhere in your stomach and there's something happening there. And it's like, go on an elimination diet. Like, just try to eliminate what you can and see how you feel, and give it some time, because it takes your body some time to like uh, you know to adapt. Sometimes for me, actually, I didn't have that big of an issue adapting. I didn't get any keto flu or anything like that. But it might take a minute for your body to adapt, to be able to see if um, it affects you in some way. But like, when people go on these elimination diets and they find out, okay, wow, I feel so much better when I eliminate this food. You're like, well, that's information. You're doing science. Basically, you're trying to find what the truth is about your own body. And we're all human beings, but every human being is a little bit different. um, we all have different genetics, and we are all in different environments, and how those play out doesn't necessarily equal the same exact outcome for everyone. So, play around with it. Don't If you're having a problem and you're doing the same thing over and over again, well, that's kind of insane to do that. If your goal is to solve the problem, like, hey, like, for example, a lot of times people will um, weight loss is a big concern with a lot of people. Oh, I want to lose weight. Okay, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm eating this and this and this. And then they'll go on a diet where they'll lose weight, and then they'll go back to the thing they were doing before and gain all the weight back. And you're like, well, what did you think was going to happen? It's not like you can do a diet for a specific amount of time and then do the thing you were doing before and reap the same benefits. That it's not like you're not building up your diet. And you're like, oh, well, don't worry, I did a diet for 5 months out of the year, and now for the rest of the time, I can just coast on that five. No, it's like, no, it's a constant thing you have to do. Your diet is your general intake of food over a period of time. It's not eating healthy. It's not eating junk food. It's what you're eating. And if what you're eating is making you get fat, then stop doing that. And if you start doing it again, you're going to get fat again. So um, that's why I kind of want to lean more like carnivore as a lifestyle instead of a diet, because it obviously is a diet because it is my general intake of food, but it's also like more intrinsic to like just my fact finding journey in my life. But yeah, yeah, I tend to ramble a little bit too, so you're in good company.
Yeah, that's actually good. What about to people who had been carnivore for over a year. You know, I think I've heard some carnivores who experienced I think their weight creeping back in, and then you know, after a year, you know, after having so much benefit, success with it, and then now they're kind of like just guesstimating, you know, things, or maybe they're experiencing oxalate dumping, but they don't know it. You know, what would you tell them? Just like trust the process, or maybe something else, or maybe just
Yeah,
stick
well,
with it. We'll figure this out. You know.
so right. So like I said, everyone's a little bit different, and I think that there's way more support now out there for people to like get different perspectives and different points of view about things. But I think to stick with it is great, but like doing the same, if it's not working in a specific way, like make, see what you can do to make it work. Because if it's not working, then it's not working. Don't do it. But there's so many carnivore influencers that have some great, like, influencer. I hate that word, but there are some good carnivore influencers out there, like on YouTube and Instagram, and they have some really good advice. And they have like the coach program that they're doing where they can help people go through that. And if you're able, you can reach out to one of those coaches or whatnot. I mean, you could reach out to me, and I could help, but I'm not an expert at all. But I like to think I can help people. uh, but if you're having a specific problem, like type in your symptoms in the Google and say, I'm carnivore having this specific thing, and don't try to like name drop, like say oxalate dump. Say I'm having these weird crystals coming out of my eyes, and then or something like that, right? And then um, it'll probably have something for you, especially nowadays, because before, uh, when I first started to kind of get into this, it was there. There's stuff out there which is harder to find, and there are so many people out there nowadays that are just have so much knowledge. I don't know if you're familiar with Eddie Goki, um, but he is really smart guy, and you know I like watching his content, um, and he definitely knows how to read research papers and understands uh, our values and all that stuff. And I don't have the time or the patience to sit down and kind of understand a lot of that stuff. So I kind of lean on him a little bit on his channel, and it really makes a lot of sense the way he breaks a lot of stuff down. So there's probably actually a YouTuber out there for you that can help you with your specific problem. That might sound weird, and in the world of the internet, it's strange to be trying to solve your health problems by looking for people who make videos for a living. But it just turns out that a lot of these people have knowledge from their own anecdote, other people's anecdotes. They have huge like meat stock conventions that they go to, and they talk about their problems and they talk about their solutions. And if you can afford it, or if you're in town, do those sort of things. Yeah, become a part of the community in some way, and you might be able to figure out what's going on, and someone can frame it in a way that you can understand. But like, don't stop looking for the answer. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever your goal is, don't stop looking for it. Especially if it's you know especially if it's something that is readily available, like oxalate dumping. There's so much about oxalate dumping out there, and there's probably even like too much about it. So it's like, oh man, I've never had that problem. I don't know anyone that has had that problem specifically, but I know that it's happened to a lot of people, which is that's great. That's crazy. Like, I don't know what I would do if that happened to me.
Yeah, I agree. You know, there's so much people in the space now, like in the community, you know, that you can reach and pretty much ask for help. I think one of the person you mentioned, Eddie. Yeah, I actually watch a lot of his content too. The way he breaks things down, I think is pretty smart. The way he does it, it simplifies everything. I think like he talks a lot about the vegans and he talks about the raw primal eaters too. Everything. I think I tend to lean on him too because I don't have time to pretty much investigate everything now. And but I need something to like listen to simplify everything. So yeah.
Yeah, and like
Um,
he usually has all of his sources available, and you can just look at what he has looked at too, and you know, it makes a lot of sense. So
yeah, totally. Yeah. TK, so my last question to you is your future outlook. How do you see carnivore um, maybe evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you see it in the good light, the bad light? The bad light meaning we'll probably see censorship, maybe similar to COVID, or pushbacks from the big pharma or something, maybe regular people. The good light, maybe we'll see more people talking about it because, small podcasts like this, because they're seeing a lot of healing, specific diseases being cured or going into remission. What are your thoughts?
I think I think the most likely outcome is that carnivore becomes more and more of a thing, and it starts to bolster the industry of carnivore, whether it be regenerative farming, whether it be grass-fed beef and different cattle like that. I think that if we continue to grow as a community, just in general, and more people start to think that this is a good idea, that more money will get put into it, and the more money that will get put into it will lead into more research into this sort of eating, and it will, lead into like better quality food for us, better quality, cattle and ranching in general. It'll open that up, and more people will become ranchers in the same vein, and then people who are already ranchers, but maybe they're doing more industrialized processes, will start moving more into more grass fed and maybe even regenerative farming. And I hope that that's the way it goes. But there's always the flip side of the coin where you were talking about big pharma. Well, there's a lot of vested interest in trying to pick up different land in the United States and in China and different places across the world, where they're trying to use it in ways that are not conducive to having raising cattle on them, which is disheartening a little bit. But I have hope for the first side of the coin. But also, there's all sorts of weird stuff that's happening nowadays. Like, you've heard of the Lone Star tick with the alpha gal syndrome attached to that, where people will get bitten by the tick and then they'll be allergic to meat. So this is my conspiracy theory brain. Just this, like, if that's the case, um, there are some crazy people out there that might take that and try to save the planet by making it so that people can't eat meat. And if that happens, that this is like way out there. I think maybe there's a possibility of something like this happening where some bioterrorists will, this is a sci-fi movie in the future, but all the sci-fi movies of the past have all become true anyway. So um, unfortunately, I think that as it gains popularity, we'll have a lot of pushback from other communities that are like pro ecological standpoint, because a lot of people think eating vegan, vegetarian lifestyle is better for the planet, and which is not necessarily the case, especially if you take um, raising meat and having that done sustainably. If anything is done more sustainably, then it's going to be better for the planet one way or the other, climate change or not. But I think some people might get really anxious about the rise in people eating more meat and more meat. And I think they might, try to do something crazy. Maybe, possibly. I'm not sold on that. I think the first thing is more likely that the market will dictate what we do, and more people getting in the meat will make not only the quality of meat, the more available meat. We'll start using, instead of the cornfields we're using to make fuel right now, we'll use it to make food. And my utopian society in the future, utopian, I don't think that that's possible, but is that people change the culture until we are just making food as our main primary goal. Because right now our goal is not to make food; it's to make money and then buy food. And if everyone was just kind of trying to do that instead of, I don't know, make, what are those, labubus? I don't know. Why are we doing that? Let's focus on like health and longevity and community, and stop gambling our hard-earned money away and our hours that we're putting towards trying to earn this money to buy crappy food to be sick. And let's just worry about making food for us to be healthy, and then everything else can come after that. Our priorities are just kind of messed up. I saw this one little short video earlier, and it was this guy talking about before civilization came and commodified everything. We had free water and free food and free shelter. It was just all available, and you could just do what you needed to do. And somehow we messed that up. But that's kind of true. Like, you can't live without making money nowadays, and that's just kind of wild if you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually like your outlook. I feel like I connect with most of those stories and the shorts, the videos that you've seen, especially with the one with the ticks. Also, yeah, I
Yeah,
feel like
something
that's
like
that's
that.
my conspiracy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
TK, if people want to reach out or connect with you, where's the best place can they reach you?
It's the best place is the email, tkeatsmeat at proton.me. I can send you a text. Oh, you have that. If you want to put that into the video description, that would be the best place. And I'll be glad to talk to anything about what we talked about today, and to include weird conspiracy theories.
That's excellent. I'm gonna make sure to post your email in the description so people can reach you. TK, thank you again for taking the time to join me. I really enjoyed talking to you, listening to your story and your perspective. Thank you.
My pleasure, Joseph. Have a good one.